So this week, Manchester United have been linked with a move for Wilfred Ndidi. Now this may not be a signing which immediately gets you too excited, but £9 million for 8 years of Premier League experience kind of sounds tempting. Now throughout his career, Ndidi has been labelled as a sort of ball-winning midfielder, and I would say that is still the case. I think at one point he was labelled as maybe one of the best in the world. He was often put into conversations with Declan Rice, and even now it's obvious to see why. This is a busy midfielder. You can see that in his FBref report here. Someone who gets involved in a lot of defensive actions. And he is a good defender. I think he protects his team well. I think he screens his team well, but is also able to do the battling work where you've got to confront the opposition. I think he's quite good in those areas. Where I particularly like Ndidi personally is when he's dropping actually a little bit deeper, and actually sometimes all the way into the defence, whether that be a back four or a back three, similar to what we've seen Casemiro doing at Manchester United, where for example the ball might go wide into these positions here, and sometimes you need that extra number in the middle. Ndidi is the sort of player who has the awareness, but also then the physical traits whilst he's there to actually defend the box. He's relatively good in the air, he competes in a lot of aerial duels. That does also mean he loses quite a lot as well, but the fact that he's going up for so many kind of shows something about his mentality, his kind of hustle and bustle, his willingness to get stuck in, to try and win the ball for his team. So whilst the percentages aren't the highest in the world, the fact that he is attempting so many sort of tells you a little bit about what he is as a defender. I also don't think he's good screening in front. So let's say you've got your back three in this position here. You need someone to shuttle across side to side in front of them, covering ground, trying to disrupt the opposition really. Ndidi is your man for that. He is a good ball winner. His mobility has always been pretty good. He's tall, he's got long legs. Not necessarily rapid, you know, he's not lightning quick, but he's not slow either. He can get across the pitch and he can do this job. And defensively, he's incredibly switched on. Again, there's a reason why for a long time he was labelled as one of the best ball winners in the Premier League. And I think the big thing for me is what I just mentioned. It's the long legs. He is so difficult to get past. You guys will probably remember Aaron Wan-Bissaka being at the football club, and he could just stop opponents with the reach that he had when he was slide tackling. Indeed, he's got something very similar with slide tackles, but also standing tackles. He's got an amazing ability just to stop the opposition, just as they think they're getting away from him. So that could even be Ndidi as the wrong side. He's actually been caught out, but he has that recovery pace, and like I said, that reach to get the ball, to poke the ball away. He is good in that sense, and also sort of confronting players face on, you know, opposition player dribbling towards Ndidi, he's got to try and defend the situation. Again, he doesn't dive in too early, which I think is important. He times it well, and again, those long legs almost sometimes mean he doesn't actually massively have to engage in physical contact because the legs have got the reach to poke the ball away. But should he need to engage more physically, he does have the upper body frame for it, and he does use his body well, and again, generally speaking, he's a good defender. If we look at his data MB report from last season, we can see that he was competing in a lot of duels and also winning a pretty decent percentage of them. And I would say he is a defensive upgrade on what we've got currently. I think he's stronger than Ugarte, which will help him in the Premier League in particular, where there are a lot of physical, strong forward players at the moment. And I think in terms of Casemiro may have better tackling technique, for example, but I think Ndidi being a little bit younger, more athleticism, more mobility, sort of gives him that advantage. He can turn just a little bit quicker, which allows him to match the opposition. So I do think from a defensive point of view, Ndidi would be an upgrade on what we've got, and he only costs £9 million. Now, whilst everything about Ndidi so far has actually been quite positive, you're probably getting a sort of vibe from my tone today that I'm not too excited about the Ndidi links, and the main reason for that is because of his on-the-ball ability, or lack of at times. Defensively, I really can't fault him. I think for £9 million, he'd be such a good squad player to have. Someone who, in the biggest games of the season, you bring him in to plug gaps and disrupt the opposition, I think he'd do great. But in terms of offering more than that, getting on the ball, being a player that can help us in the first phase, for example, being a player that can help us build up possession, progress the ball, break the opposition down, I just don't think he offers enough. You can see his passing numbers here. He is low for just the numbers of passes that he is attempting, but also the forward pass completion rate. And I thought I was being harsh initially because, you know, Leicester are a team that didn't have much of the ball last season, so perhaps that's why his numbers were so low. So I decided to go to the season before in the Championship, where Leicester were actually dominant and had quite a lot of the ball, but Ndidi's numbers still just didn't really impress. He wasn't really getting enough of the ball. He wasn't a player who would progressively carry the ball forward or a player that would progressively pass. He is not that good on the ball. Now, I don't think he's a liability. Let's make that clear. He's a Premier League footballer. The guy can play football. Let's make that very clear. I just think in terms of Manchester United, trying to move the needle as a football club, trying to raise the level, I don't think Ndidi's your player to do that. In fact, at Leicester, what we've actually seen is him sort of adapting and evolving into a new position over the past 18 months or so, where occasionally he'll play a little bit higher in one of the 10 positions. Normally, when we're talking about a player moving into a 10 position, we're talking about agility, guile on the ball, low centre of gravity, and ability in tight spaces. With Ndidi, what we're talking about is Leicester trying to get him out of the first phase, where he's just not that much, he's not bringing that much to the team on the ball. I do think his longer range passing is quite underrated. I think we've seen that particularly at international level. When he's given a bit of time, he can play a long ball forward. And he is underappreciated there. Again, Ndidi's not useless on the ball. But again, if we're talking about trying to go to the next level, improve the team, I just don't know that he does enough. For example, let's say Manchester United were to go into that shape next season where you build like this. Ndidi can't do this job on the ball. He just can't. We saw, like I said, early on in his Leicester career, someone like Tielemans would take up this role whilst Ndidi went further forward. Over the past couple of years, we've seen Harry Winks at times, for example, dropping deeper to get on the ball, literally to push Ndidi further forward. The problem is in this system, Ndidi also wouldn't offer us too much in this more forward, advanced position unless he's playing as a sort of box crasher. So that's the reason for my low energy today, because it's just not a rumour or a player that particularly excites me. It doesn't get me too interested in it. I don't think Manchester United will make this deal happen, to be honest, because of the position we're in. I think if you're Arsenal right now, for example, signing Norgard, it's a good signing. I think it's a good signing for them because they've got a squad which is very close to completion. If they just need a bit of depth in a position, you can go and do that. At Manchester United, I don't think we're in a position to be signing second, maybe even third choice central midfielders. I don't think we're in a place to be doing that. We've got Casemiro, who I would imagine will be moved on in the next 12 months. We've got Ugarte, who I don't think will ever truly cement a first team spot. To then sign Ndidi as well, the similar sort of category of footballer who in 18 months isn't going to be starting for us, doesn't feel like the best business for Manchester United. He's a stopgap in a position where I don't feel that we need a stopgap. I think we need immediate quality. So, if I was advising Manchester United, I wouldn't suggest signing him. He's not a sort of player that I think we need in the club at the moment. If we try and look at this from a more positive point of view, let's say United were to buy him tomorrow, how would I feel about it? I'd be a little bit disappointed, but I would also get the logic. He's Premier League proven, and there does seem to be that focus this summer to bring players in that have experience in the league, that understand the physicality, the intensity, and also the tempo, which is really, really important. Ndidi understands all of those things because he's played in the Premier League throughout his career. Realistically, he should now be at an age where he's close to his prime. This should be close to Ndidi's best. His ball playing ability has just always held him back a little bit. Set pieces, things like that, he'd help United. He is taller than Ugarte, so he'd offer us something there. He's got more mobility than Casemiro, more defensive awareness than Kobbie Mainoo or Bruno Fernandes, for example. I just don't think it works with the players that we've already got at the club. That's my opinion on this, and that's why I haven't done a full breakdown today. I haven't done, a full analysis on the details of his game like we have other players this week, just because I think the weaknesses are just so obvious. I think sometimes they're blown out of proportion. Like I said, again, we've got to remember, we are talking about a Premier League footballer. If he has got this far in his career, he can play with the ball. Like I said, his long passing is good. Occasionally, he can carry through midfield. He's got that long stride. He's also got the ability sometimes to sort of bundle through midfield with the ball. 2 or 3 players towards him, and he just kind of finds a way through. He does occasionally have that ability. But I just think overall, it's not really doing it for me. Maybe I'm just grumpy. Maybe I just woke up on the wrong side of the bed this morning. Maybe I've had a negative attitude towards Ndidi for a few years. He's not a player that I've really ever rated as a top Premier League midfielder. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm being harsh. And if you think I am, let me know in the comments down below. Do you think Ndidi is actually what we need? Perhaps that simplistic ability, someone who can just be a squad player, come in for certain games, is exactly what we need. Maybe we need someone with Premier League experience who is going to improve our defensive ability. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I personally not too excited about this one, but maybe you guys can persuade me of something a little bit different. Try your best in the comments, or maybe you just agree with me and maybe we should just move on to the next player. I don't know. In terms of today's video there, we are going to wrap things up. If we see more concrete Ndidi news, then I will try and find more positives, look at more of the little details of his game, of course. But for today, there is nothing else to talk about. So thank you guys very much for watching this video. Hopefully next video, I'm going to be a bit more excited by the player or the tactical idea that we are talking about. So yeah, thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.